This is the AI Music Revolution, brought to you by JG Beats Lab. JG Beats Lab is a methodology company for serious musicians working with AI tools. Not tips, not hacks, a complete system for getting consistent, professional output from platforms like Suno and Murica. We call it the unlocked system. The framing is simple. You can be a vending machine operator, pressing buttons and accepting whatever the AI gives you back, or you can be a director, understanding the platforms well enough to get exactly what you want from them. Lane 2 work, human-authored, AI-assisted music creation. That's what this show is built on. Here's today's episode. Hello and welcome to the AI Music Revolution. I am your host, Josh Gilliland, the founder of JG Beats Lab. Today's episode, by the way, which is episode 25, believe it or not, it's about a question DistroKid added to every upload a few weeks ago. The message buried inside that question that the music industry has been wanting to send for a long time, and what an independent AI music creator actually does about this. Because there are two postures most creators have settled into right now, and both of them lose. Hiding loses. Apologizing loses. There's a third option, and almost nobody is taking it. And that's what we're going to walk through. We're going to look at the policy first, the shape of the DistroKid disclosure form, and what the exemptions tell you about how the industry sees independent musicians, mixing engineers, and the major label production paths most likely to be using AI heavily right now. Then we're going to land on the operational response, 4 specific components of what I call the disclosure discipline, which is what a Lane 2 creator does instead of hiding or apologizing. This is the AI music revolution. Let's get into it. Here's the question DistroKid is now asking on every upload. Does this song include AI-generated music, vocals, or lyrics? Using AI for mastering or mixing doesn't count. 3 sentences. Looks reasonable. AI is changing how music gets made. Listeners might want to know. Disclosure feels like the responsible move. I'm not opposed to disclosure. I disclose everything I do. The methodology matters more than the label. But I want to push on the shape of this specific policy because the shape reveals something the industry hasn't said out loud. 3 categories require disclosure: AI-generated audio, AI-generated lyrics, AI-generated compositions. 3 categories are exempt: pitch correction and auto-tune, AI-assisted mixing or mastering, AI-assisted workflows. Read those 2 lists side by side. The required disclosures all target the creative front of the production process: the artist's voice, the songwriter's words, the composer's melody, the performer's audio. These are the spaces where artists make their work, and the industry now requires those artists to label any AI involvement in those spaces. The exempt categories all target the production backend: mixing, mastering, workflow tools. These are the spaces where engineers and producers do their work. The industry has decided AI involvement in those spaces does not warrant disclosure to listeners. Let that land for a second. The industry just told the entire mixing and mastering profession that AI doing their work doesn't matter enough to mention. The craft is invisible. The role is exempt. The implication is that mixing and mastering have already crossed into commodity territory where the human is replaceable enough that disclosure would be a formality. If you've been hearing for years that AI mastering tools are almost as good as the real thing, this is the industry confirming in policy form that they agree. That's the first thing the policy says out loud without saying it out loud. The second thing is harder to see, but it's the part that affects you more. The third exempt category is AI-assisted workflows. That's the one nobody is talking about. What is an AI-assisted workflow versus AI-generated content? The policy doesn't say. The line is not drawn, it's left to interpretation, and that ambiguity benefits one group more than another. A major label studio uses an AI tool to generate STEM ideas, then re-records them with session musicians. Is that an AI-assisted workflow or AI-generated music? A producer uses an AI tool to suggest chord progressions. Then the songwriting team refines and develops them. Is that AI-assisted or AI-generated? A vocal track gets processed through AI-driven processing chains that fundamentally reshape the performance. Is that mixing or is that generation? The policy doesn't answer any of those questions. A major label studio with attorneys can plausibly argue most of their production falls under AI-assisted workflows and exempt themselves from disclosure entirely. An independent musician who used Suno to generate a vocal track cannot make that argument. They don't have a legal team to define their way out of disclosure. They just have a checkbox. Same policy, very different outcomes. And here's the structural piece. Independent musicians release through DistroKid. Major labels don't. So this policy applies to you. It does not apply to the artists at major labels who are using AI in ways that they're not going to disclose. The artists most likely to be using AI heavily in production are the ones least likely to be subject to mandatory disclosures. The artists with the smallest legal teams are the ones being asked to label their work. The artists with the largest production budgets get to invoke AI-assisted workflows as a catch-all that exempts them from the same scrutiny. This is asymmetric enforcement, and asymmetric enforcement is asymmetric harm. The transparency burden is being placed on the people with the least power to push back. Okay, that's the policy. That's the landscape you operating in. Now, what do you actually do about it? Most independent AI music creators have settled into one of two postures, and both of them lose in 2026. The reason both lose is structural, it's not philosophical. The first posture is hiding. Upload tracks without disclosing. Hope detection misses. Hope nobody asks. That worked in 2023. It doesn't work now. Spotify's AI credit infrastructure went live in April. Deezer has been running its own AI detection system against its catalog and has flagged over 13 million tracks as AI generated, all of which are excluded from editorial and algorithmic playlists. SubmitHub rolled out an internal AI detection tool. Watermarking and provenance standards are moving into the AI content ecosystem. Detection tools are improving across platforms. The probability that a curator, a platform, or a competitor identifies undisclosed AI in your catalog is now meaningfully higher than the probability that you slip through. And when the identification happens, it does not arrive as a quiet note. It arrives as a curator decline, a playlist removal, a flag against your distributor account. Hiding lost the moment detection became the systematic, and detection became systematic this year. The second posture is apologizing, disclose reluctantly, with framing that signals embarrassment without a production methodology. The verbal equivalent of, I used some AI tools, but I really did most of it myself, I promise. This loses for a different reason. The reader of an apologetic disclosure infers exactly what the writer is telegraphing. The work is somehow lesser, that the production process is shameful, that the artist is on probation. That framing follows the work everywhere you go. Listeners do not respond to apologetic positioning by extending sympathy. They respond by deciding the artist agrees with the people who hate AI music. The apology becomes the frame. The work has to climb back out from underneath it. Most work cannot. So hiding loses to detection. Apologizing loses to framing. The winning posture is the third option, and almost nobody is talking about it. The disclosure discipline is what the lean-to creator does instead. It has 4 operational components, and I want to walk through each one because they each cover a different platform context. The first component is the distributor metadata. Disclose accurately at upload. DistroKid supports DDX-aligned AI credit fields. Use them. The field should name the AI tools involved, identify the human creative roles, and describe the workflow in a matter-of-fact language, something like vocals generated using Suno, lyrics written by Josh Gilliland, arrangement, mixing, and mastering by Josh Gilliland. This documentation is for platforms and supervisors, not for listeners. It travels invisibly behind your release and creates the compliance record that protects you when policy enforcement tightens. Disclosed compliance ages better than undisclosed avoidance every time. The second component is submit hub pitches and curator outreach. Lead with the workflow plainly in a personalized message field. This track was created using AI tools for vocal synthesis, with human production, mixing, and final curation. I think it fits the mood of your playlist. A curator who is categorically anti-AI declines the pitch. That's a small loss because the same curator would have declined and damaged the relationship if they discovered the AI involvement after acceptance. A curator who is AI neutral or AI positive reads the pitch, evaluates the work on its merits, and respects the transparency. The net trade is favorable every time. The third component is the artist's bio across platforms. Describe the production method in the same register you would describe any other creative process. AI-assisted production with human arrangement and final mixing. Not a confession, not a defense, a description. The listener who cares about the work reads it and understands the workflow. The listener who is hostile to AI has already decided based on the sound, not the bio. The bio is not the place to fight the battle. It's the place to set the record straight in 3 or 4 words and move on. The fourth component is sync submissions and licensing pitches. This is the one where disclosure becomes non-negotiable. Most major sync libraries will not accept undisclosed AI involvement. The liability for the supervisor is too high. Include a one-line production note in the submission. AI assisted with human arrangement and mixing. Have your DAW project file ready as proof of human authorship if challenged. Sync supervisors who are AI friendly will work with you. Sync supervisors who are AI hostile will pass. The middle category, supervisors who are AI cautious, will accept transparency and reject deception. That's the segment that grows the most when you disclose. 4 components: distributor metadata, curator outreach, artist bio, sync submissions. Each one is a different platform context with a different audience and a different penalty for getting it wrong. The discipline is operating all 4 consistently across the catalog. I want to land on why this works, because I think the strategic point is more important than the tactical one. The 45 to 65 plus audience the Unlock system is built for has spent decades inside creative fields. They know tools have always been a part of the work. A guitarist with an effects pedal is using a tool. A mastering engineer with a compressor plugin is using a tool. A photographer with Photoshop is using a tool. The objection to AI is rarely about the tools as a category. It's about deception, displacement, craft erosion. A Lane 2 creator who discloses cleanly is operating against all 3 of those concerns at once. The deception complaint does not apply because you disclosed. The craft erosion complaint loses force when the human creative direction is visible. The displacement complaint shifts from AI is replacing musicians to this musician is using AI deliberately and openly, which is a different conversation entirely. Disclosure done well moves the creator from defendant to operator. The frame changes. You're not asking for permission. You're not apologizing for the workflow. You're describing how the work got made and letting the work stand on what it is. The listener who reads AI assisted with human arrangement and mixing, and then hears work that holds up, will reach the conclusion that the work earns. The listener who is hostile to AI was never the customer. The listener in the middle, the one who doesn't care about the production method as long as the music works, gets the music and ignores the metadata. 3 audiences, 1 disclosure, no contradiction. That's the positioning advantage. Disclosure is not a tax on Lane 2 work. It's the move that makes Lane 2 work credible at scale. The full disclosure discipline framework, including the platform-by-platform enforcement landscape, the EU AI Act timeline, the sync supervisor segmentation, and the distributor comparison for AI-assisted creators, lives in Chapter 3 of Unlock Music Promotion, $9.99 at jgbeatslab.com or on Amazon. If you want it bundled with Unlock Suno, the complete guide, and Unlock Music Rights and Registration, those 3 together are the minimum starter kit at jgbeatslab.com/store for $27. Make it, release it, promote it. The full production, registration, and promotion triangle for a disclosed Lane 2 release. And if you want everything I publish, every book, every research report, every blueprint, the sprint course, fader, and the community of people doing this work with intention, Red Lab Access is the move. One price, lifetime access, $117 at jgbeatslab.com. The form is incomplete. The policy is asymmetric. The detection is real. None of that changes what you do. Disclose accurately. Lead with the workflow. Document the creative roles. Let the work stand on what it is. The disclosure discipline is not a defense. It's an operating posture. And it ages better than every alternative. Stop gambling. Start directing. Thanks for listening. New episodes every Friday. Subscribe so you don't miss next week. I'll see you then. One more thing before you go. Every Thursday morning, I send out a newsletter, 1 email a week. It's where I share what I'm working on in the studio, the research running the lab, and the methodology I'm refining in real time. New books, new blueprints, new findings from the Red Lab Protocol research. If that sounds useful, the sign up is right on the homepage at jgbeatslab.com. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next Friday.